Today we are going to talk of polarization, a characteristic of transverse waves. Now you know that light is an electromagnetic wave. See, we know that light is an electromagnetic wave. Now this means that you have an electric field and a magnetic field. Both are perpendicular to each other and perpendicular to the direction of travel. For instance, say I consider this. This is the y direction. This is the x direction. And this is the z direction. So we'll just label this. Now this is the x direction, this is the y direction, and this is the z direction. So say you have a wave, an electromagnetic wave which is traveling in the x direction, and this is the electric field component, and say this is the magnetic field. I'll just draw it over here, and this is in the z direction. So this is the component of the magnetic field which is in the xz plane. Now when we are talking of polarization, we'll forget about the magnetic field. We'll only talk of the electric field. So I'll just remove the magnetic field and only look at the electric field. You can see that the electric field vector is in the y direction. Now we will say that this wave is polarized or linearly polarized in the y direction, because the electric field for this wave only varies in this direction. So if you look head on from this side, say you're looking head on from this side, what you would see is, all you would see is a single line. So we are representing this polarized wave by a straight line, a double-headed arrow, and this is called a linearly polarized or plane polarized wave. The wave remains in this plane. Say I consider this over here. Now the wave remains in this plane. So this is called a linearly polarized or plane polarized wave, which is polarized in the y direction. Now if you look at the electromagnetic wave, that would be E in the x direction, can be written as E naught j. This is a unit vector in the y direction, since the electric field is varying in the y direction, sine omega t minus kx, since the wave is traveling in the x direction. Had it been traveling in the opposite direction, it would have been plus kx. The magnetic field is written as, since the wave is traveling in the x direction, but the magnetic field component is varying in the z direction. So you have a unit vector over here in the z direction, and the wave is traveling in the x direction. So we write this as omega t minus kx. Now this wave is polarized in the y direction. Since the electric field component is varying in the y direction, this wave is polarized in the y direction. See, now instead of the y direction, say the electric field varied in the z direction. Say you had a case in which this is the x direction and the wave is traveling in this direction, but the electric field vector is in this direction. So you once again have a linearly polarized wave which is polarized in the z direction. Now you might be wondering that, is light always polarized? See, ordinarily light which comes from the sun or from a light bulb is unpolarized. Now, what do we mean by unpolarized light? Unpolarized light would mean that the electric field can vary in all directions, which means this electric field could be like this, and then if you just rotate it like this, so if you are again going to look head on, in that case you would see something like this. You would see a number of double-headed arrows because the light, the electric field vector is not in one direction. Now each time we want to show unpolarized light, if you have to draw a set of arrows like this, I mean drawing so many arrows, that's quite a mess. So now we are just going to draw two arrows, one in this direction and one in the perpendicular direction. Let's say this is the y direction and this is the z direction. Now, so what we've done effectively is, if you look at each vector over here, we resolve it into its components. You find out the component along the x direction and along the y direction for each of these vectors. And then you add up all the y components and all the z components, which means finally you get one y value and one z value. So now we are going to represent this unpolarized light with two arrows, one in the y direction and the other in the z direction. So we are saying that this unpolarized light can be regarded as a combination of two polarized lights, one polarized in the y direction and the other in the z direction. At times you might have seen an arrow like this. You have a double-headed arrow and a dot over here. So this dot is a vector into the plane of the page. So which means this is actually a vector which is like this. So this again is unpolarized light, and it again represents light that can be resolved into two components, one in this direction and the other in a direction perpendicular to the plane of the page, which goes in like this. So all these are representations for unpolarized light. Now to summarize, we can say that linearly polarized light can be represented like this by a double-headed arrow. This is linearly polarized light. Unpolarized light can be represented like this with two arrows, and partially polarized light can be represented with one arrow slightly longer than the other. So this would be linearly polarized light. This is that neither is this is partially polarized. Now partially polarized means that neither is the vibration of the electric field completely random, but it is a little more in one direction than in the other direction. So we've drawn one of the arrows shorter than the other. Now we'll take a look at a Polaroid. A Polaroid has a special property of allowing light parallel to its polarizing direction to pass through and absorbing the components which are perpendicular to its polarizing direction. Let's just take a look at this. Say this is a polarizing sheet. Now these vertical blue lines over here, just draw these lines. These show the pass direction or the polarizing direction of this sheet. So the electric field components which are in this direction will pass through, but the components which are perpendicular to this direction will get blocked. So let's say we have light incident on this polarizing sheet, and we will show the incident unpolarized light as a double-headed arrow. So now this is the incident unpolarized light, and since this is not polarized, we will have two double-headed arrows drawn perpendicular to each other. Now when this unpolarized light is incident on this polarizing sheet, this is going to allow light, the electric field components of the incident light which are in this direction, to pass through, but the other perpendicular component, this one, is going to get blocked. So I'll remove this component, and the light which emerges is linearly polarized, since the electric field vibrations are in a single plane. So this is unpolarized light. This is the polarizing sheet, since this has polarized the unpolarized light. This is the polarizing sheet, and this is polarized light. Now let's place another Polaroid. Let's call this P2 and analyze this polarized light as we rotate the second Polaroid. Suppose initially the polarizing direction of this polarizer is also vertical. So in that case, the incident polarized light will be allowed to be transmitted through this Polaroid, and you will see a certain intensity at the other end. Now suppose we rotate the second Polaroid and we bring it in a position so that its polarizing direction is completely perpendicular to the electric field of the incident light, which means, let's say it is in this direction, which is completely perpendicular to the incident light in this direction. So in that case, the intensity of the light at the other end is going to be 0, which means no light is transmitted by the second Polaroid. See, when Polaroid P1 and P2 have their polarizing directions completely perpendicular to each other, the intensity of the transmitted light is 0. But at other intermediate angles, it will not be 0. To understand that, we'll take a look at the law of Malus. We've once again taken two Polaroids. Now let's look at the direction of the polarizing direction of the first Polaroid. Say the polarizing direction is, it's not vertical or horizontal, it's at an angle. So we'll have light which emerges from this Polaroid, which has an intensity which is again not 0, but it has a certain intensity which is half of this. Say if this is I0, the intensity of this light after passing through the polarizer is going to be half. See, actually the light transmitted by the first Polaroid over here, irrespective of the angle at which it is placed, the intensity of the transmitted light will always be half. This is called the 1/2 rule. That's because this light is unpolarized and it has its electric field in all possible directions. So however you place the first Polaroid, the intensity of the transmitted light will always be half the original intensity. Now let's see what happens when this light is incident on the second Polaroid. Now let's say that the polarizing direction of the second Polaroid is vertical. So this is the polarizing direction, and I'll just copy and paste this light which is incident on this. So this is the direction of the incident electric field. Now, since the polarizing direction is vertical, you can see that there is an angle theta between the polarizing direction, this is the polarizing direction, and the incident electric field. Now we want to find out what is the intensity of the transmitted light. So to do that, we will resolve this into two components. Okay, what I'll do is I'll just draw this separately over here. So I'll just draw this over here for clarity, and I'll just make the distance little more. Say this is the polarizing direction and this is the direction of the electric field. I've just shown it at a greater angle to make this clear, and this angle is theta. Now these are the two perpendicular directions. So what we'll do is we'll find components of this electric field E in the horizontal and the vertical direction. So to do that, we drop a perpendicular here and another perpendicular here. So this is the horizontal component and this is the vertical component. We'll say this is EX and this is EY. Now I'll just quickly resolve this also to two components. One would be a component over here and the other would be a component over here. So now you can see that the component which is in this direction is going to get transmitted. So you have a certain intensity of transmitted light which is obviously less than the original intensity. Now this electric field was E, this is EX, this is EY, and the transmitted component over here is EY, which is equal to E cos theta. Now let's find the intensity of this transmitted light. See over here, say we call the intensity of this light, incident light, as I1, which is equal to half I0, and we want to find out what is I2. The intensity of light is proportional to the square of the magnitude of the electric field. So I1 is proportional to E square and I2 is proportional to E cos theta squared. So I2 over I1 is equal to cos square theta. Now this gives us Malus' law, which means that the transmitted intensity is equal to cos square theta times the intensity of the incident light, and theta is the angle between the polarizing direction of this. This is the polarizing direction. The polarizing direction of this Polaroid and the incident electric field. Now, just keep this in mind when you're solving numericals, that suppose you are given that light is unpolarized, then the first time it is incident on a polarizer, you have to take the intensity of the emergent beam as half that of the incident beam. In that case, you can't use Malus' law. This is used only when the incident light is polarized. So I1 over here is the intensity of the polarized light. Before I finish this lesson, a quick question for you. Why is polarization of sound waves not observed? give you a little hint. The answer was in the first sentence of the lesson.